coming.
Done. Oh,
My boys are sick again.
good morning.
I'm morning so far.
Is your mic on?
Is my mic on? Okay. All right, good morning.
Doesn't sound like you need it.
I'd like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission, the 10 a.m. meeting of January 28th, 2025. At this time, please silence all electronics and mute your microphones. And please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
Monsieur Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Wakeman.
Present.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 3, Chairman Starkey.
Here. Okay, we have no resolutions today. But now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any current or future agenda item coming before the board and on other business under the board's purview. Today's public comment will be handled as follows. First, we will take public comment from those who are here in person. Then we will take public comment from those who have pre-registered for a WebEx link and are currently on queue. We request that when you address the board, comments are not directed personally against a commissioner or team member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides mutual respect between board members and the public. After stating your name and address for the clerk, a 3-minute timer will be activated. After 2 minutes, a single beep will indicate you have 1 minute left. When your time is up, 2 beeps will sound and you should close your comments. WebEx participants will be disconnected automatically when their time is up. Mr. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, we do. Commissioner Pastor Troy Pedersen.
Is he online?
No.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair, staff. Pastor Troy Peterson, 81715 Long Lake Drive, Hudson, Florida. I'm really excited the way I believe America is going to go under President Trump. Now, just think about this for a minute. The president at his inauguration has rabbis, pastors, leaders giving him counsel. Just like we've been able to go to Tallahassee and give counsel to our great governor, and I'll never forget praying for your husband in his office his freshman year.
Thank you.
It touched me, and I know it touched him. And so we have that opportunity to bring God's counsel and God's wisdom to the board. See, throughout the ages, throughout scriptures, the governor and the high priest work together. Now, I'm no high priest, but according to God's word, I am. I'm a priest. And we have that opportunity to pray. In fact, I just come from a prayer meeting every Tuesday at the Oasis Coffee Spot. Several pastors and leaders get together and pray for our governing authorities. And so, first off, I'd love to just invite the opportunity that if you have any prayer requests, email me, and we'll pray. If you want it kept private, we'll keep it private and just pray between us. And this morning, as I was praying, what am I going to share with the county commissioners this morning? And I kept being reminded of the same scripture that we were hearing during the pandemic. Okay, now, that was a tough time. But what we were hearing is, be still and know that He is our God. And He will be exalted among the nations, and He will be exalted in the earth. So I know that if we exalt the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, in our county meetings, He's going to give us wisdom, and He's going to give us favor, because then I believe wholeheartedly that Pasco County will be a premier county. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Wiley.
And I'll
Pasco
have something
Parks and
coming
Rec.
your way. Who did you call
Keith Wiley,
for public comment? Oh.
yes.
Oh.
Don't let them take up your
Good morning,
time.
Commissioners. Keith Wiley, Parks, Recreation, Natural Resources Director. I'm here to introduce the Hub and Reagan Weiss.
Oh, great.
That was phenomenal. You were the best. Should have given more speaking time. Hello, BOCC. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope everyone is off to a phenomenal start. My name is Reagan Weiss, the founder of Hub Life Charities. And ideas are great, but without the right people behind you, ideas do not happen. Come on, guys, get closer. Let's love it. Let's love one another. So Huboween has been nothing but phenomenal.
He's a big blocker. I can't see anyone
Yes,
behind
I
him.
apologize. Huboween has been nothing but phenomenal. It's been 5 years now, guys, if you could believe it or not. 5 years of Huboween, and it's done nothing but great things for this community. And I will tell you, all these people around me are what made it happen. Our main sponsors, we got to give Burkett Ace, Nature Coast Roofing Solutions, as well as RJ Kilty. Those are our top 3 sponsors every year. But there's one person in particular that we have to thank, and that is Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark, come on up here, please, sir. Guys, he's right here. Come on up. For 5 years, this man has been nothing but a saint. All those barricades, all the things that we have to move, all the trafficking, it's all him. All that traffic, not traffic, oh my goodness, I said trafficking, bad. Let's cut that out. Let's cut that out. But all the traffic stuff that he has to deal with, it's all him, and we're really grateful for you. So we want to say thank you so much, because without Mark, this doesn't happen as well. We're really grateful. Let's give him a round of applause, everybody. I promise, you can accept it, I promise. Nothing crazy. But I want to say this, everybody, without these individuals behind me, this doesn't happen. Guys, Huboween has been fantastic, and I know I only have a minute here, but I will tell you this, it's going to change. Huboween is changing. We are no longer going to be doing a drive-through event, but we're changing it up for the better. We're going to be doing it over multiple weekends, more of a family festival type deal, and we're doing that, guys, to ease the traffic for you, so you guys don't have to hear the complaints. Go ahead, Catherine, I see you speaking.
I don't hear any complaints. I might read them if I choose to go see there, but we're widening that road, and so that'll take care of that problem.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
When that comes to fruition, then we'll have that discussion again,
Yeah,
maybe to make
so
it a
it's going to
drive-through
be
event.
4-lane before you know it.
Yes, that's good to know. But in the meantime, we're going to alleviate that traffic, because you might not hear the complaints, but we hear the complaints. And we don't want to hear those anymore. And obviously, we want to make this a family-friendly community event. We wanted to make it comfortable for everyone, where there's no impeding traffic. So it's going to change this year, but I promise it's still going to be awesome. It's still going to be very much fun. Our Madam President, it cannot be here. She has the flu, unfortunately, Marcia Corzera. But we have Amanda Hart here, Jen Verge, and so many others. Amanda, why don't you come up here really quick and you have 29 seconds to say some great things about Huboween and what we're going to do. Come on.
Ooh, really?
Yep, just last minute.
Hello, Commissioners. Amanda Hart. I was proud to be one of the sponsors this year. I've spoken to many of you. I know many of you have supported this event. We've called you last minute and said, hey, we need this, and you all have made it happen, and we're very grateful for your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That being said, $30,000 check for the BOCC. There you go.
Woohoo!
Let's take our photo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
have to make a motion to accept.
Okay, I'll accept a motion.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Motion is to
Accept that money.
accept the money from Huboween.
Does that go straight to the Parks Department? Yes. Okay, good.
Perfect
All right,
place.
I'm going to come down. Y'all stand behind here because there's a lot of...
He was coming to make his grabs on that check.
Guys, line up in front here. We'll take a photo.
I'll give you the real check, and then you can hand that to
Yeah.
Wait, don't get her. I won't do you like that, guys.
All right. I have two phones, so everyone look at me first. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, good. One more phone.
I heard changes were coming. I was nervous you were leaving there, but I'm so glad you're.
And look at me.
I have
1,
that,
2.
I have that thing.
Perfect.
Good. I'm off for my girlfriend.
Good, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Love Charities.
Thank you.
Oh my.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Lisa, nice to meet you. Hi, beautiful, how are you?
Okay, who else do we have?
Well, that was a great start to our morning.
Yeah.
Woo!
The next person I have signed up is Jen Burge, but I believe that was probably covered with the other. Got it, okay. Bruce Bunstead?
How you doing? My name's Bruce Bumstead. I live at 15324 Cary Lane, Hudson, Florida. And I'm here about selective enforcement and the mining operations and trucking companies on Bolton Avenue that are operating all in a Class 1 site development. They've eliminated all the trees off the property. They've dug and mined and filled and done everything against all the rules and all the codes, yet they're back in operation again now because the property's changed hands and now nobody seems to want to be able to do anything about it, so here I am. They don't have to be required to have silt fences on their properties because they don't have permits while they're digging up the dirt illegally and sifting the dirt and burying the spoils illegally and the whole 9 yards that's going on the property. And just all the activity that I've been trying to get and you guys have made me put my name to all the complaints. So therefore, I'm here to follow up on the complaints because you've made the effort of making me put my names to the complaints after I've had probably 200 anonymous complaints against my properties and the whole wrath of the department of everybody on top of me. And we need selective enforcement to stop, and we need to have some of these people do their jobs instead of look the other way on the property, because the newest complaints on it, the woman that was out there, she doesn't even know it's been in Class 1 site development since 2013. Now that's 11 years that's been in Class 1 site development, while over $100 million has been made off that property in illegal dirt movement. There's been no Pasco mobility fees paid on that dirt hitting the highway. There's been no recollection of how much property, how much dirt has been hauled in and hauled out, how much has been buried in the ground because they're using it as a transfer stations, which they're not being required to do all the things that a transfer station's required to have to do. So the oversight of where all the spoils have gone and where all the stuff that's been buried and all that, no, everybody's looked the other way. So maybe now that it's, can go on public and everything and nobody can look the other way, maybe certain points, because I've been to the head of all the way up to the highest in this county to be able to do this. Even with Patrick Garrett, who's no longer here no more, which, then Jessica Rodriguez, the county attorney, she knows that it's in a Class 1 site development. Everybody knows it's in a Class 1 site development. So, the properties, they know which ones it is. Everybody knows exactly what's going on. If you need to be more specific, I can give you parcel ID numbers and I can mail them again to my commissioners. But been trying to address this for a long time.
Okay, Commissioner Mariano?
I was going to say, David Allen is the new Assistant County Administrator for Development Services.
gonna
I'd like you to meet with him right now, and then he can go over it with you.
No.
Yeah,
This is
then
good, 'cause this
please,
has gone on
please
for way-
report
this has
back to
gone on
me.
way too long.
Please send.
Please, Dave.
Let me know what's going on when you're done investigating. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
David will meet you in the back there.
Valerie LaFrance?
Good morning. I'm Valerie LaFrance, Community Chaplain for Pasco County and beyond its borders. 9731 Sandstone Lane, Port Richey, Florida, 34668. I have a mandate. I'm here. I reviewed the 12 pages of the agenda. I want to let you know that in the past, there have been those who were doing good, and they were told that they could not speak at all in the name of Jesus. They were told that they were doing good, and they were told they couldn't do this in the name of Jesus. The reply was that whether it be right in the sight of God, to hearken unto you more than unto God, you be the judge. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself now, but this is what they had said for we, but I'm saying for I cannot speak the things that I've seen and heard. I cannot hold back what I've seen and heard with my own eyes, even here in Pasco County. It is mandated that I am to exhort, first of all, supplications and prayers and intercessions, giving thanks be made for all of you, for kings and all of you who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all goodness, godliness, and reverence. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior. I'm speaking to the audience also, all of you. So my prayer is for all of you, first, to have open hearts so you can hear the gospel and the message, so you can intimately know who your Savior is. I am asking you also help that you receive counsel, not only just from your attorneys, but from one another, as well as from your constituents. We do know a few things also. I ask that you're able to understand, to trust in Him and trust in Him only, for He will make the path for you and make it straight and easy to understand. I ask for protection on each and every one of you, including your family members. For there is evil out there. Sheriff Knuckles says, if you're there, we will find you. There's evil out there. We see it in our own county. We kind of laughed about using the word trafficking, but we all understood what he was saying. We lift up also all of you to have discernment, to know what you are to do, what you're supposed to say. Especially just today, you have many items on your agenda. We ask also that you be blessed and that your family members be blessed. It is very important that we see you blessed, for when you're blessed, you're able to bless others. We ask that you have great discernment when people are trying to do things under the table and you know it's not right. Integrity is one of your models. We ask that you're able to have the courage to say no, that you have the discernment that there's something behind that window and you know not to go for it. He will honor you, He will protect you, and He will give you the right things to do and say. We are placing you in His hands so we can trust you. It's very important. And also to have compassion on each and every one of us, whether it's the homeless or those of wealth. God looks at all the same way, and we want you to also. In Jesus' name I pray.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have
Wanda
Bibles for anyone who wants one.
Wanda Kasnorf.
It's kind of warm in here, guys. We're all warm up here.
Good morning, my name is Wanda
Right?
Chasnoff.
We're
I
fine.
live at 6608
Well, we're warm.
Status Lane, Newport Richey, Florida. I'm here to say some good things about Mr. Mariano. I'm dealing with him on some flooding issues. I'm dealing with him on homeless camp that's near my home.
Rinky.
I have 2 residents that's on oxygen 100%. Yes, we've had some difference since that I've been on the phone constantly calling and everything, but the people are still coming back because the junk is not cleaned up, okay? I'm so afraid, so afraid. I'm a fireman's wife. I'm so afraid that I'm gonna go to bed one night and they're gonna have their fires and they're gonna blow the neighborhood up because of these 2 people on oxygen. I need this homeless camp shut down, no matter what it takes. I know the owner's been out there. He said, oh, just clean up the front, what you can see. That don't stop the debris, all the pine straw and the branches and all this dry. We're gonna have another California if we continue to let them be there on that property that's not theirs. I need your help and with Mr. Mariano to please, please shut this down. This man showed up on the property because they had fires on a Saturday, not this Saturday, last Saturday, 2 weeks ago. He showed up out there in his shorts and his t-shirt to see what was going on and to talk to the policemen and everything about getting this shut down. I need y'all to work with him, please, please, please. Let's not have our houses burned down. I can't sleep at night. I can't do anything. I'm asking for your help, please. I'm known in Pasco County because I try to get things done. I try to be verbal. So I'm here verbal to you as a committee. Please help us get it shut down, please. Thank you. And Jack, thanks for all your help, and I really praise you a lot.
Thank you.
I am going to say Irene Wellen. Is that correct, ma'am?
It's Welch.
Welch, okay.
Hi, my name's Irene Welch. I live at 5119 Green Key Road. I was away for 3 weeks during the holidays when you showed up. I'm sorry I missed you. I have seen some improvement on Green Key. I want to report that. I live directly next door, 2 houses from this homeless camp. My child was attacked. He's autistic. He was attacked by a homeless man. I called the police. Things were handled. I'm happy with the responses that the community's given. I see improvement. I said Green Key can be a beautiful place. I see it already changing. There is still trafficking. There's prostitution. There is still drugs. We have tents. These tents need to come down. If they have the tents up, they have a place to go.
Is there a no trespassing on this property?
Yes.
Then why is this occurring? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
There's
it's gotta
30 people
stop.
living there, 30.
It's gotta stop.
And then now they're attacking the residents, they're lighting fires. I mean, I'm scared. I just been traumatized through the flooding. I've been flooded. I'm a flood victim, new to this community. And maybe it's my anxiety, maybe it's my PTSD, but they have no right to be there. And I have a right, I'm paying rent, to live there. And I want to say, I do see improvement. That's more important than the complaining. I don't want to complain.
When we had this going on somewhere else, we started fining the landowner for allowing a campground on his property without a permit. And I'm sorry, this landowner's got to be held accountable. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
And that's really what I want to say.
we have some tools and we need to use them.
Yeah, thank you. And Jack,
Not
again,
fair.
thank you for me and my son and our safety. We appreciate it that you came out.
Madam Chair, if I could, before you leave, and Wanda, meet with JJ, David Allen, who's out talking to someone else, and I see Chase Daniels in the back. And Chase, thank you for getting some crews out there right away to deal with that homeless problem last Saturday, too. I appreciate it. But if you guys would go talk in the back about putting a plan and talk about what's going on.
Absolutely. Whatever
And literally, if this place caught on fire, you'd see California.
No, it's not okay.
It's a jungle.
How many times did they come here to say they've got a homeless camp and they feel threatened next to them? So thank you very much for bringing this, and we'll.
Thank you.
This is public comments.
I am the chair and I'm running the meeting. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Separate person.
Reverend William Bowles.
I brought a few examples. My name is Reverend William Bowles, 5215 Blue Jay Drive, Holiday, Florida. And I'm sure everybody's aware of our state stone is agatized coral.
Nope.
But we have no place in Pasco County to display this. We have examples that I brought in, and the Maps Museum is great, but they have no room for anything. It's crowded. EMC, they can't handle it. But I would like to see them in all the public schools, the libraries, Starkey Educational Center. But this is a great opportunity for us to display these because these came from Pasco County.
So we have Sean in the back who's going to meet with you. And I'm wondering if you could leave those here and come back and get them later in the day so that we can look at them during the break.
But one thing that a lot of people don't know is 100 years ago, the Catholics built a church, a shrine, and a wall out of agatized coral in St. Leo. Nobody's ever been there. But it's beautiful, and it's our state stone, and they're all found right here in Pasco County. So I want Pasco County to know what we have. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for bringing that in.
You're welcome.
I look forward to looking at it later. Thanks, Sean.
Ellen Rose.
Good morning, Alan Rose, 10221 Hilltop Drive, Newport, Richey, Florida. Just wanted to bring again our waterways issues we have in Pasco County. Today and I've sent you all the information I have, impaired waterways. We have 8 impaired waterways in our county, 5 of which are within the master plan I've submitted to you before, which could be remedied. Other 3 need to be worked on inland, and we need to work at that. It's Bear Creek, Coatee River, and the Third River. Anyway, we just need to address our waterways. I have not seen it done. I know you're working on it. I know it's in the background. But if we don't take care of it, we're all going to pay for it. I already have. I've been bringing the master plan to you since 17 or so, and had that been in place, you would have had about 80% less damage on these last hurricanes we had. It's essentially doing what we have to the south. If you look at Clearwater Beach and St. Pete out on the peninsula, they got wiped. But on the other side of the waterways, minimal damage. If we took this and made progress with this, we could have an offshore barrier island, 1.2 to 1.5 miles offshore, that would protect most of our coastline. There will still be inlets for all the connecting waterways, and I've submitted it different ways. I just wanted to bring it to you as one piece like that. You've got a lot of waterways issues, and they need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, that's all we have signed up in advance, and we have no one sign up in advance for this portion of the meeting.
Is there
online.
anyone else here who wishes to address the board? Okay, we will.
Oh, you guys.
Oh, come on up quickly, sir.
Peter Doty, 8728 Honeycomb Drive, Port Richey, Florida. I am sick and tired of code enforcement not doing their job. I've complained to Jack's office since April of last year about different violations. Nothing gets done. Call code enforcement, they want all my information so they can give it to the person I'm complaining about. Not right. I'm 70 years old, I'm disabled. I can't fight anymore. I need something has to be done. You get these people coming down here from the land of death and despair thinking they can do whatever they damn well feel like. You're overbuilding in the county. We can't handle it. We don't have the water. We don't have the roadways. You just keep on building, building, building. And it brings down more people. Stop the building and people will stop coming down. Let code enforcement do their job. There's no reason why they can't get out there and drive through Pasco County. Not talking about the farmland, the acreage where people have 3 to 10 acres of land. I'm talking about subdivisions, Bear Creek, Timber Oaks. Drive through, see the violations. They could go ahead and take care of it. And don't just give a warning, fine them. Most people just pay the fine, they won't even take it to court. Our law enforcement, they speed. I watched one doing over 75 mile an hour up 52 to pull into a racetrack to get coffee and a sandwich. It's uncalled for. They don't go ahead and do their job. They don't pull people over for not using turn signals. They don't pull people over for weaving in and out of traffic. They're speeding up and down Little Road. These people aren't doing their jobs. It needs to be taken care of. DOT. You have 4 or 5 people to a truck. Ridiculous. You have one person that drives, one person that supervises, one person that uses a shovel, and 2 people to direct traffic in a subdivision. That's a waste of money. You people don't care about this state or about our county. I don't believe any of you do. Otherwise, something would have been done about it a long time ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the board? Okay, we will move on to the poll list. I have C3 withdrawn, C18 withdrawn, And Commissioner Waitman has pulled for discussion C28. I'll take a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. We will take up C28.
C28, I just want to pull C28, just to recognize the work of the county's ELAMP program and working with landowners. And this is 669 acres in southeast Pasco, surrounded by swiftmud land down there in the Crystal Springs area. It's owned by the Alston family, who's been around Pasco County for a long time. So just grateful to any landowner that's willing to take a price decrease on their property and willing to put it in conservation to help us keep green space and outdoor recreational opportunities for our county. So I just want to recognize that with everything that we hear on the opposite end of the spectrum, that we are working towards it. And with that, I move approval.
Is there a second? I have discussion. I looked at the map, and I don't know if it would take too long for you to put the map up, but what a great acquisition. Because it looks like, I can't really tell what's south of it, but looks like it's connecting kind of the Green Key Swamp area to some big property below.
Correct, Commissioner. So Keith Wiley, Director of Parks and Recreation and Natural Resources Department, that actually is connecting one of the ecological planning units that connect the core systems within the county and actually out of county to the south. So yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. We look forward to hopefully a successful partnership with the state in acquiring it. And Commissioner Waitman, thank you for acknowledging that effort.
And last board meeting, we bought the property on Trouble Creek by the Eagle Point Park. So, great job. Keep bringing us more.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And we need to make sure we're sharing these successes out in the public so they know what good work their penny is doing. Okay, so now we are on to the R's.
You need
Oh,
a motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
So that motion was on the entire consent agenda, including 28, correct?
28 was separate.
No, we had
We already voted on the,
Okay.
on the consent.
This is just 28.
Okay, we're going to be pulling R31 up ahead of R30. So who's running that one? Nobody?
I don't have it on my sheet. Back here.
It's me. My name is Tracy Cayley. I'm the Director of Operations for
Oh,
Bay Care
withdraw.
Behavioral Health. This is
Hi, Tracy.
agenda item. Kathy was going to introduce me, but I think she stepped out, so.
Okay.
Do you want me to still go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
All
Great to
right.
see you again.
Sure.
Just
Hi,
saw you.
hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me here today to share how the county match funds are utilized to support those struggling with mental health and addiction issues in our county. I did have a PowerPoint, but, oh, it's coming, all right, so. I'll just keep going. Bay Care Behavioral Health is part of the Bay Care Health System. We provide services in 5 counties in the Tampa Bay area. We employ over 1,500 team members and treat over 70,000 patients per year. We've been providing services specifically in Pasco County for over 50 years. Our continuum of care within this county includes outpatient clinics, both mental health and addiction. It's coming, it looks like. We have specialized community prevention programs where we try and get upstream of the mental health and addiction issues in our county. So we get, intervene younger, intervene in the communities, intervene in the schools. We do a lot of collaborations with law enforcement, with the jails, with the schools, with the child welfare programs, because not any one of us can kind of do this work alone. We also have our own graduate medical education program. What that means is we have our own residents, right? Psychiatry residents. So we are training the baby doctors how we want them to be trained and really trying to teach them what we want them to know about addiction and mental health. And hopefully they'll stay here once they're kind of graduated. So we're very proud of that. We are in our 4th year of that. So we're about to have our first graduating class. We also do services specific for veterans and housing. And then we have 2 residential programs, one for children. This is the right side, thanks. One for children and one for adults and addiction. Next slide, please. So the county match specifically provides really a valuable safety net for high-risk Pasco residents who are either unfunded, meaning they don't have any insurance at all, or they're underinsured. So they have insurance, but it may not cover the needs that they have. We collaborate and have partnerships. We try and work together with all those in the community and really try to utilize those funds in the most, for the ones that need it most, especially when it comes to needing crisis-related services, which I'll go into detail in the next few slides. First is our integrated stabilization unit. This is 8002 King Healy Boulevard. This, for those of you that don't know, I think most of you do, this was the first of its kind in the state of Florida where we combined a detoxification center and a crisis stabilization unit.
And I think that's really important to say, so you have to say it again. It's the first of its kind.
That's right. That's right. So the first one in the state of Florida, and we did this. We opened this in 2013. It's been wildly successful. It's a 30-bed unit. So whether you're coming in for overdose or alcohol-related issues or more depression and feeling suicidal or at risk of hurting someone else, we don't have to discern which one it is because a lot of times they very much overlap, right? So this is what this level of service does, and so we stabilize them. You'll see on the slide the data. We continue to treat, 1,400 or so a year, 1,800, I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on, for 2024, and that's both the crisis and the detox combined. What we're most proud of is our recidivism rate sits at 11%. That is a very low recidivism rate when it comes to alcohol and drug and mental health crisis response. Next slide, please. Our mobile crisis response team is sort of the next level down from the ISU, the Integrated Service Stabilization Unit, and that is 24/7. You can call, anyone in Pasco County can call, and we will respond, right? We will respond on site, to homes, to schools. Law enforcement will come with us when it's a situation where that's necessary, and try and divert the crisis. We want to keep people out of that level of care I just talked about, keep them out of our ISU, right? Get them into like outpatient services, something that's less costly, more treatment versus just stabilization. And I am proud to say that, in this past year, with all the, over 1,000 calls that we did get, we diverted 87% of those calls, meaning 87% of those calls that we received that we went out on to talk to people, instead of Baker acting them, right, or Marchman acting them, or committing them involuntarily, we were able to create a safety plan and keep them in the community and get them connected to services. That's huge. Like, that's been a really big win for our community. And when it comes to county match dollars, the numbers aren't reflected in these stats necessarily, but when the county calls, we're there to help, right? So if it's after a hurricane and there's some need to, call individuals who, may reach out to the county for support, or if you just need us to go out on site, those are the kinds of things that we'll do and are available and have been, and so it's been a really good partnership. Next slide. Oh, no
Sorry,
slides. No slides. Okay.
Once again, we're having technical difficulties. I don't know why.
I just have
this
two more
keeps
slides.
happening.
Next one. There you go. So this one is sort of, once someone's been, got kind of in a crisis sort of mode, or they've been hospitalized, or they've needed our mobile crisis team, we really want to get them linked to our outpatient services. They can see a psychiatrist. They can get their medicines that they need. We have a pharmacy on site. We have, services East Pasco, West Pasco. We have a recovery center in Central Pasco. So we really try to make sure all the needs of our county are met. And so that's kind of the third level. And then the last slide, before I take any questions, I just wanted to share, this is kind of an ugly picture, but it is like the aerial view of our West Pasco campus, so where we have our children's services and our adult services that I just described. But in green, that will be our behavioral health urgent care center. I just want to remind everyone that will be the first of its kind in the state of Florida, and it will be opening on Monday. And it was supported by funds from both CDBG and the Opioid Settlement Fund, so we are very excited about it. We will have I've talked to many about this, but we will have a ribbon cutting sort of open house in the weeks to come, and we're trying to figure out the best date and time for that, but we hope you will all be there, and we're very excited about that. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
When Tommy, I can't remember his last name.
Nzina.
Yeah, Izinga?
Nzina.
He convened a meeting, I don't know, 6 years ago, with actually Polk, Pasco, Hernando, Hillsborough and Pinellas. And I went down, the sheriff went down, all the sheriffs were there, some county commissioners and some business leaders, and discussed what could we do about this opioid crisis, and how best to spend some of this money when it comes, and how could we, start going after this problem. And if you saw at the Tri-County meeting 2 weeks ago, and sorry, a couple of you weren't there, or was it last week? I don't know. Every county stepped up to say how they had been spending their opioid money. Well, the others were talking about how they're going to spend it, and we're opening our center Monday. We put our money to work right away on cutting edge solutions, and I'm just so proud of what we're doing I'm going to bring it to NACO to have them talk about it on a national scale, because you want to talk just a little bit more about this BH urgent care, and there may be
Absolutely.
questions
And
here.
you're exactly right. So the opioid settlement dollars, so Baycare is in 5 counties, so we are part of these conversations when it comes to opioid settlements in all the other counties as well. And you're absolutely right. Pasco County is really the only county that has really gotten the dollars out there. Hernando's done, but they just don't have as much. It wasn't much money, but really, this is the only county where it's been innovative. There's been a process. We've gotten the dollars out the first year, and really, the task force that's been created is a really great group of minds that, really wants what's best for our community and what's really going to help individuals. And I think kind of the big, bold idea with the behavioral health urgent care, which, what that means is it's sort of that, I talked about our integrated stabilization unit. It's like a locked unit where you go when you're at the deep end of crisis, right? And I talked about sort of outpatient services, which is more like routine care. You go once a week for therapy or once a month for medicine. This is sort of in between, right? Maybe you think you might need to be hospitalized, but maybe you don't, right? Maybe you can walk in. Like if you think about physical health urgent care, you may have a sinus infection. You may think you need antibiotics because of a sinus infection, or you may have a kid who needs an X-ray because maybe they sprained an arm. So you want to be able to get in quickly. You want to walk in. You want walk-in availability. You want to schedule an appointment if you don't have a lot of time. And so that we're taking that same concept and we're translating it to behavioral health services. So someone who is, been struggling with depression just feels ready, right? Because sometimes that's what that's about. Like they're just ready to change, right? They're ready to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go talk to someone. I'm ready to talk to someone. We'll be open in there for them to do that. Instead of going straight to an emergency room, right?
Or our jail.
Or jail. That's right. Right. This is a diversion, right? So come there first and get really treatment, get services, right away in real time versus kind of taking a longer route to get to that same place. So we're very excited about it.
Yeah, same. So I see it as a national model. Yes?
Yeah, Tracy, thank you very much for bringing this forward. I had asked for this presentation a little bit ago when I saw it was a state mandate, wanted to see what was going on. We met, blown away by your phenomenal numbers. I mean, for 3 to 5 day care for people in super trouble, let's say, for you to get back with only 11% recidivism is amazing.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can work on other things that'll help you deal with that as well. And you were one of the largest recipients of money, and I'm so glad to see that building, which was just, I won't say shuttered in, but it was like a storage area. And now to see it come to life to go is going to be phenomenal. I hope you used our landscaping money to offset some of that cost for you.
I got to call you about that. But yeah, I mean, I need some help probably. But yeah, so yes, but absolutely, that would be
Someone
great.
here can talk to you about that.
I want to say for the board as well, one of the things we also funded at the same time was a Steps to Recovery program for the veterans for long-term stays. I mean, they could stay for a year or two, whatever it may be. They've been doing this for many, many years. They recently came to me about their program, and they were trying to keep it moving, so they got like site plans ready to go, et cetera.
The one on Trouble Creek?
On Trouble Creek?
Yeah.
So we talked to them about raising it up. They're going to work with our staff to get a site plan moved where they can actually take and keep the stuff in place. It might have to vault some of the storage for stormwater, but to go up there, they're going to be able to double their units if we can allocate some money from the CDBG DR money coming up. So that'll be coming our way in a little bit. But I think for, like when you say 3 to 5 days, they come back, that 11%, for the people that need help for down the road, if they're veterans especially, that can go. If they don't fill up with the veterans, they'll even take other folks.
That's great.
So they could be a great partner with you coming up as well.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
But I want to thank you guys for coming in. You're doing a phenomenal job. The results speak for themselves for what you're doing. Your commitment is great. And again, this facility is going to be a great one to open up to the county. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to the ribbon cutting.
Awesome, can't wait. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we are going to move to R30, and that's our budget hearing.
All right, good morning. Amy Farrell, Budget Director with Pasco County's Office of Management and Budget. I'm here with item R30, OMB 250028, which is our discussion on fiscal year 2026 budget. Yes, that is right. We all just celebrated New Year for 2025, but we are here to talk next year. All right, so we're going to talk about the budget cycle. So just an overview and a reminder of the touch points in the process and when we'll be public facing, and then doing some behind the scenes work on building out our budget for the next fiscal year. We're going to then talk about it makes sense to talk about where you're going after you've looked a little bit at where we've been. So we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at where we've been to pivot to where we're headed. And then we'll start talking about those upcoming budgetary pressures on the fiscal year 26 budget. And then we're going to have some good dialogue and discussion around strategic planning, our approach to different kinds of funding mechanisms to include taxation and long-term capital. All right, so if you look at the green squares, this is where we've been in this cycle. So we did a big kickoff with all of our county departments last week, which is basically the initiation of budget cycle. It is go forth and start planning. And then here today, we're talking big picture, high level priorities and direction here with you all. And then in February, just next month, I'll be back and we'll talk about our big revenue projections on those major revenue sources. And then we'll do some briefings in March where we look at the state of the general fund in the early parts of the budget cycle. We'll come back and have a workshop in April with our constitutional officers like we did last year. It went so well having that dialogue and being able to plan together. So we're just really hoping to build off that momentum and looking forward to it. And then behind the scenes, me and Mike are going to be peppering our directors to make sure that we're thoroughly combing through needs versus wants and putting forth the best possible recommended budget for you all. When June comes and we've got preliminary taxable assessed values from the property appraiser's office and we can have another workshop with some more fine-tuned revenue projections. And then July, we'll adopt TRIM, and then we'll have 2 hearings in September to adopt the final budget. All right, so let's talk a little bit about where we've been. So before you, we're looking at the last 14 years. How has the county grown? How has demands for service grown? And then at the same time, how has our overall operating budget grown? And so when we look at our population, we've grown 36% over the last 14 years. That's not nothing. That's a pretty big number, right? So we talk about we've got growth coming into the county. Well, what does that mean from a service delivery pressure perspective? So we pulled out some 4 key data points for you all. We've got single-family permits. Now, when you look and you say 644%, Amy, that is crazy talk. Yeah, we're booming, right? So that translates into probably a more palatable number. Roughly 6,000 more single-family permits are getting processed annually than what was happening in 2010. When we look at tons of trash, that has grown by 32% since 2010. Our utility connections up 55%, and then calls in for public safety has gone up 117%. Now, we've been able to meet that call for demand by growing our operating budget by only 30%. Our population has grown more, our demand for service, our meeting of that service has grown more than our budget has, which means we've been very efficient. We've made sound financial decisions that lead us to maintaining a level of affordability amongst our peers, and some might venture to say our competitors in terms of targeted growth in industry that we're trying to bring into the county. So 3 key tax watch metrics that we're looking at here that kind of show where we rank in terms of affordability. Average total property tax millage rates. We're below Hillsborough, we're below Pinellas, we're below the state average. And this metric is looking at all jurisdictions. This includes county, cities, school, mosquito control, etc. Our next data point is per capita county government property tax levies. So these are your county levies. MSTUs, MSBUs are general obligation bonds. And here we are also below Hillsborough, we're below the state, and we're below Pinellas. And then this third and final metric are per capita taxable value. So this is the county taxable value, not the school board taxable value. And we're looking at just value of all of our properties in the county, less any exclusions, exemptions, et cetera, right? And so we're maintaining a level of affordability that we would expect, still meeting increased demands for service, a growing population, and being very judicious with our financial decisions. All right, so that's where we've been. Now where are we headed? All right, so budgetary pressures on the upcoming fiscal year 26 budget. So public safety. This includes staffing our D shift. So fiscal year 26 will be the first full year of running all 4 shifts at every fire station. So that's going to have a monetary impact, which we have been planning for. This is just a reminder. We also have our jail expansion, so as construction is pacing, we're pacing, staffing up the jail expansion as well. And then, of course, we also know that we're going to have some budgetary pressures related to the sheriff and his budget needs. Annual contract for low barrier housing. So as a result of the storms, and we've had some folks who are displaced, we put up a contract for managing some casework there. And so we're going to have to plan, what does this all look like when we pivot through storm to homelessness, low barrier housing? Our Wesley Chapel Library will be coming online, so we're going to have to fully staff that. Wage and benefits for fiscal year 25, we worked a comp and class study, and that was baked into the 25, but we want to make sure we don't lose ground, so we'll be looking at what's an appropriate wage adjustment for the upcoming fiscal year. Retirement and Medicaid, those rates come later. We know those typically go up, so we've got a plan for that. Fiscal year 25 is year 4 of our utility rate study, so for 26, we'll be looking at building the next 4-year rate resolution, so in the summer, we'll have a hearing to work on that. Tax base adjustments, I just talked about the 2 storms, well, the 3 storms. So that is going to have a monetary impact on our tax base. We're still trying to figure out what that looks like. Residents have until March 1st to apply for those exemptions, so it's still a bit early for us to be able to say, hey, this is what this might look like in the coming years. But just know that that's out there. And then, of course, sustaining our public facilities. This could be anywhere from our parks facilities to general county government buildings, but if we build it, we probably should maintain it, and there's always going to be a cost associated. Before we move on, do we have any questions?
Yes, I had some, if you could go back on the 911, 117.
Yes.
Could you dive into that a little more, because that's an interesting number.
Oh, so by dive in, you want me to break out what makes up those calls? Okay, so in 2020, so we weren't able to parse out fire and EMS related versus sheriff calls in 2010 because of the system that we were on, but for 2020 and 2024, we can parse those numbers out. We see fire had an increase of about 25,000 calls per year from 2020 to 2024. With the sheriff, we saw a slight reduction of approximately 20,000 calls from 2020 to 2024, but our overall calls went up.
So if you did that per capita, that'd be an interesting number to kind of run, because our population has increased, but the calls have gone down. So I don't know how to do that math. But.
So I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm going to make the note, and we'll do it.
And you said fire was up how much?
Roughly 25,000.
And I guess we kind of know that as being one of the busiest.
Yeah, we have one of the busiest EMS services.
And do you break that out to actual fires versus calls for ambulance or?
Yeah, I'll let Assistant County Administrator Murphy answer that.
80% of the responses are for EMS.
Okay.
So we track about 100,000 calls a year. So between 75 and 80,000 of those are EMS calls.
And do we have any way to break out what the sheriff's calls are? You don't have to answer it now, but it'd be an interesting.
We'll let you
I don't know I don't know how deep we can get into some of this, but okay. That's a question I'll ask the sheriff one day in one of my coffees.
Chase can find that out for you.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. Okay, thank
Madam
you.
Chair?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were through.
I had another one, but I never think the chair should go first, so I have another one, but I'll go last.
I'm going to tie into one that you've talked about, so,
Okay.
about, as far as recycling goes, we stopped doing glass a while ago. Commissioner Starkey had actually brought up a possibility about using glass a different way of disposing of it. Have we looked at that at all? Or is that part of the scope coming up for the budget?
I think we did take a look at that. Let me make sure we didn't respond to the board with a memo on that, with the glass recycling. We'll get back to you on that, Commissioner.
Okay.
Thank you.
And when I did that presentation, a private provider did get a hold of me, P-A-W, and they have the ability to do that for us, too. If we don't want to do it ourselves, they'd be interested in being a subcontractor or however that works. So, but we really should be putting that glass to work. Yeah.
Anything's better, whatever we can do to divert it, depending on
Yeah.
cost, et cetera.
Hey, it makes sand for our beaches, so,
Part of what you need to look at is the cost of actually doing that.
Yeah.
or
yeah,
not.
make sure the ROI
Because
is
there is a
right.
cost.
Yeah.
Right, you gotta look at it, but again, there's a cost to
It's
go
gonna
in the
cost us more
landfill.
money than we're gonna get from it. Maybe we shouldn't be doing it, so,
Yeah,
Well, here's
but
the
we gotta
other-
look at it to see.
yeah.
Here's the thing, those big piles in the landfill are very expensive to redo. Millions and millions of dollars. So if we can avoid that and take a look at it economically, what's the best move? I think it's worth a look, and just like we did with Merrill Brothers years ago, we looked at it.
Yeah.
Went through many different things. We finally found something that worked, and it's working great. There could be an opportunity there, too. So I just want to look at it to
Yeah,
see
the
how it
solid
looks.
waste team, just so the board can be assured, is looking at a number of novel things on using that ash, anywhere from concrete additives to even road base. So, having that glass in that stream could be helpful for those avenues, but I'm confident Mr. Pliskett and his team will run the business analysis. That's how they operate in solid waste. So we'll be sure to get back to you.
Okay. I had another avenue I want to track on. You talk about the annual contract for low-barrier housing. Obviously, I know you're working very closely negotiating to make sure if it's not a capacity, the numbers should be coming down to what you think, and I appreciate that. I want you to just consider a couple of things. And Eric, I don't know where we stand, but we had a bunch of trailers that were sitting in Denton. I know they've moved. I know they have to be for the hurricane. I want to make sure we're going to get those filled. I know there's people at Holy Ground, and matter of fact, this could be a good opportunity for us to go look at. They've got spots for old trailer spots where they could actually fit a bunch of trailers. If not trailers, might even better, those homes we saw at the Grand Boulevard thing could actually work out really well, too, because they've got enough land. They could put a centralized bathroom that could work, just like we're doing there. The beauty of that is we don't have to maintain it.
Where's the land?
It's up on US 19, north of Houston, tucked in away. It's a shelter that's been there for probably
Long
4 or
time.
5 years now. They were down in
They
Denton.
were on the 19.
Yeah, they were down at Denton in 19 before, but they got a new building facility, which is even better. By the way, Kathy, I want to thank you. We helped the Holy Ground. They had this shelter building that was going to have to be shut down that probably protects 10 different people. Having a new roof on that building, thank you. They can now run it, and it looks perfect. So thank you for making that happen. When I think about like Sunrise Recovery Center, and I know we've got some other ones out there that are helping some young ladies that have been abused over time, I think with the CBGR money coming up, that could be something we could look at. It's housing, if it can be tied to anything storm-related, probably something to look at as well.
Okay, and I have some more questions, but I think they can come later when you get into some other things. Got any questions on what she's spoken about so far?
I'll make my comments when she's done.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, so now, as we start our budget cycle, we want to make sure that we're framing the conversation around our strategic plan and what are those key priorities, and are we putting our resources where we need to be from a high-level strategic position. So the next 3 slides, we're talking about the different focus areas within our strategic plan, which goes from 2025 to 2030, talking about those addressable challenges, the goals associated with those, and is there anything at this point in time that is so pressing that it should be top of mind for leadership and administration as we're going through the budget process, we're going through looking at new initiatives, and where might we want to, divert some resources in the immediate in this 5-year plan. So the first focus area is kind of the bedrock pillar, if you will, where we're looking at create a thriving community, right? We need to do that first before we can move on to other types of needs and wants, right? So we're looking at maintaining public health and safety. We're looking at community resilience and sustainability and the demands of rapid growth. And then you all should have a copy of the strategic plan in front of you, and if you just fold it open, you'll see the 3 goals associated with those challenges. We're looking to improve capacity and capability of our emergency service responses. We're looking to protect vulnerable critical assets and communities from extreme conditions, and we're focusing on putting a bow on that comprehensive plan and then pivoting to priority portions of our land development code that might need to be tweaked so we can meet those demands of rapid growth. So anything in here that feels more pressing than something else that Mike should be keeping in mind as we're working through this budget cycle?
Yeah, and just as a reminder, these are the areas that when we see new spending or things that are coming along, this is where we think we should funnel it. And so we just want to make sure that this is all still top of mind and present from a strategic perspective, because these are goals that we think we can achieve. I think we can improve the capacity and capability of our emergency response service. And we're gonna reach a point, we're gonna move to the next goal that is still related to maintaining public health and safety. So again, this is just confirming that as we go through the budgeting process.
Go ahead, Commissioner Mariano.
I was going to say, I think it's going to be important for this year, especially coming up, between the CBGR money, the DR money that's coming in, that we try to maximize that. We've got some great state representatives. We have representatives for lobbyists, and I think with ballot in D.C., I think we should be looking to try to help this budget as much as we can to try to leverage the projects we want to get done and try to use the federal and state money that's out there that we try to work with as well, with the projects that can tie in and go.
Anyone else? So one of the things that comes to my mind is septic to sewer. And I also think if this money still sticks after what the president did yesterday, that we can use this for is doing some conversions. It's still embarrassing that this county has not done one that I know of. And yesterday I had a meeting with the gentleman who lives in Odessa area, and he mentioned that, so there's a lot of lakes in the Odessa area, south of 54, that someone he knew went swimming in one of those lakes and got septic, I can't remember the disease they got, but all those homes around those lakes are on old septic systems. So I've asked for our staff to go test those lakes. But we just have to start cleaning up. And I know this county has avoided taking on septic to sewer conversions, but we've really got to get serious about it.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't avoided it. We've just tried to get funded, and it
I know.
hasn't been easy. I mean, we've got a great project up at Sea Pines.
But there's ways that other counties have gotten funding. For example, Charlotte County up in Washington, and from Tallahassee. I don't know, we just haven't been successful, but I feel we just have to keep working on it.
Yeah.
Commissioner Oakley.
On that, some of that funding's come through, before, through SWIFMUD, and then some come from the state on programs that would go from septic to sewer.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the coastal to the north, Hernando.
Right, the Springs,
and
the
Citrus
Springs
is a lot.
Council.
Well, I have an update. We can, perfect time to talk a little about all this then. I have a whole binder full.
At the
At your-
committee updates?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to the next pillar unless there's any more discussion. Okay. All right, so our second pillar, we're looking at enhancing our quality of life. So here we're focusing on reducing homelessness, making sure we've got access and availability to cultural, educational, and social opportunities for all, and balancing our natural landscape and urbanization. And so when you look at our goals, we're looking at making homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurrent. We're looking at increasing availability and access to our cultural, educational, recreational, and social opportunities, and we're ensuring protection and conservation of our natural ecosystems. So kind of same dialogue as the last one. Is there anything that's top of mind for you all that we
Sure.
should be focusing on?
Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. So we heard about homelessness this morning, and I think the east side of the county is probably as high as it's ever been, at least to the noticeable to the visual eye. When it comes to, I look at a thriving community, and when you maintaining public health and safety, homelessness fits in kind of bucket one and bucket two with enhanced quality of life. I really want to understand, and Commissioner Mariano's alluded to this several, in different conversations throughout the time I've been on the board. I really want to understand our options. I want to be as disciplined as possible with how much money we throw at it, because we're taking valuable resources from our taxpayers. No choice of their own. This government takes their money, and we're putting it towards people who don't give two rips about other people's property, businesses. They don't care about themselves. They don't care about this county. They don't care about what they're doing. And so I want to be very deliberate and aggressive on how we tackle this problem. Like, what are our options? Can we ship them to their next of kin. It's really a family problem. We find their next kin and we give them a bath, something to eat, and give them a bus ticket or a train ticket to their next of kin, and they can't deny them. These folks that are doing what they're doing here should not be our taxpayers' problem. This is a family problem, and their families need to take care of that. They don't need to burden our tax dollars, you know, and so I'm getting more and more frustrated by the day with this cohort. And I really, you know, it's going to cost some money, but I don't want to invest anything in them because they don't care. And so we should send them back to a family member or something. I just want to understand what our options are deliberately. That way we know and we can make the hard decisions, if need be, that this board needs to make. I think we've broadly gone around this topic, but we haven't narrowed down and defined what we can do as a board, not necessarily from a sheriff's perspective, what our obligation is and what we can do to make something happen because I don't necessarily agree with whether a property owner is here or they're out of state or another country. I have some reservation on finding property owners when other people consciously make a decision to trespass on their property and do what they're doing. We have the right in this society to own land. It's not always the landowner's fault that people from other places come in and do what they do on those properties and impact other people. So that's you know, we were talking about finding the landowner, that sort of thing. I'm hesitant with that. So I really want to narrow down and have real answers on what we can do. And let it be known in Pasco County, if we make the choice to lay the hammer down on this subject matter, folks who are transient through this county need to know the consequences. I'm sure it'll spread through the homeless communities on what the disciplinary action will be. But I'm ready to go to level 10 and put our foot down and, you know, make some real changes here. So I think that impacts 1 and 2. And, you know, I know it could be a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation, but it needs to be had. Thank you, Chair.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ray.
You know, to talk about years ago when we looked at what others were doing with the homeless, and one of the programs we looked at was at San Francisco, which I did not want to copy. Their most successful service they did with all the millions and billions of however much money they spent was actually, as you just said, shipping people back to where they came from. And I will tell you, I know that we've been victimized by people from other places bringing their people to here, and they come here. I don't want to be the beacon for the homeless to come.
Nope.
Take care of our own, et cetera, but anyone from a different place. And I know we did this with the United Way a few years ago. We put like $30,000 or $40,000 aside so they could ship them out. The sheriff loves the idea as well. I think it's a program to go with and make it easy. Talking to Pastor Jen the other day, she had some people from out of town up in Virginia. They've got next of kin. They'll be here for like 2 more weeks, and they're going back up. That's, I think, one of the ultimate approaches. The other thing that we did, years ago, we put a panhandling ordinance, which didn't work. We then put the right-of-way safety ordinance in place. I will tell you, I have to text Pat Phillips continually over and over again. These guys will go out there. They'll work after 5. We've got to do something after 5. We've got to do something on Saturdays. We've got to do something on Sundays. When they can stand out there, and they leave their trash everywhere,
Yep.
right? And it's a bad blight on the community. They leave their trash there, and they stay out there. They make money doing it. They keep doing it. We've got to crack down on that. I'll give you another idea. Years ago, someone brought up the idea of Brazilian peppers, invasive species. How do you really implement that on people? But I think maybe we should look at, and Mr. County Attorney, if you can kind of think this through a little bit for us, maybe there's a way we can put in this ordinance, if there is trespassing found and you do have homeless people there, we put some type of invasive species ordinance in place where they got to get rid of them. Because Brazilian peppers, where they can hide around, the Brazilian pepper's real easy.
I thought you were calling the people invasive.
No. No, but those invasive species make it easy to hide. I see many properties going up and down, like on Little Road.
Allow Brazilian peppers.
They clean them, they clean out, so they don't go in there. It's good for them, it's good for the landowner, it's good for us as well. So if we can work on something like that, that may be another bit of help. But I agree with you, it is a big problem. But if you keep giving them away where they can stay in the woods and do their drugs, they're gonna stay in the woods and do their drugs.
Commissioner
To go about how to straighten some of that out. Some of the property owners need to trespass people.
Yeah.
I've had them tell me personally on the phone, they're out of state or whatever, and they're willing to trespass. And I've worked with Chase Daniels on this issue. We get the okay that he'll trespass when we find somebody on that property, yet when we call him about trespassing him, he walks away. So you can't do anything with it if you don't follow the law to be able to trespass people. And the landowners that own some of this land that are trespassing on do not do their part to make sure they get off that land. So that's just one of the issues.
And I agree, and when sometimes, for example, we had a landowner who lived out of state, and we've had one that lived out of the country on US 19 at that old Helen Ellis site, and I mean, that was a dump, right as you're coming into the county on US 19. I mean, that's not what we want to present, and we could not go and evict them.
Right.
Because it was private property, and he hadn't signed that trespass agreement. So I think we need legislation that gives us more tools. But Commissioner Waitman, I understand your frustration, and I see it too, but I just want to be careful to paint all of them with the same brush. Because I'll never forget when I was at Home Depot a couple years ago, and a young father was there with his wife and 2 kids, and they were looking for a tent, the kind that you take to a soccer field, and or a camping tent, and the kind they sell the soccer field type tents at Home Depot. And I heard him describing what kind of tent he needed, because he was going to move into Starkey Wilderness Park. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa. And I had a conversation with him, and he said he had gotten sick, missed 1 paycheck, fell behind in his rent, and was evicted. And he didn't have the money saved up to move into another place with down payment and security deposit. And so now he and his young family were homeless. So, but he still had his job. So, there are cases where people need just a little bit of a helping hand, and I'm so glad we have that place up on Youth Lane. Is that where it is? But then we have the other ones that don't care. They want to live in the woods. They don't want anyone to tell them what to do, and they like living that way. And so I just want to be careful that we have both situations going on. And I think the ones like that young family are the easiest ones to help. Yeah. They don't need a lot. They just need a little bit. But the ones that don't care and trash everything and do drugs and rob and steal, we need to get rid of those guys. Yeah.
So I will say, just using your example of that family, there are organizations like One Community Now that will help, let's say, put displaced people like that in a hotel for however long. They'll even help them with a down payment. So I think there's 2 different types of.
Yeah, when we helped that young family, they called Marcy's office, and they got into temporary housing, and then they got permanent housing. So
I think that'll come out in the wash. We come up with a very strict policy. If you're going to talk to these people, there's going to be interaction. We will then find out what kind of level of situation or homelessness they're in. But until then, I mean, we need very deliberate action, very swift action, and not some long, drawn-out, like, this thing, 30 days at a time. I mean, I think we can move pretty quick, I would think, on figuring out where somebody is. And then it's just getting that process down, and you'll find those situations, and then you identify it, and then we address it as they come. But until we have a very disciplined process, I think that, it'll take longer for examples like that family to get help, because we're not getting there timely enough or for whatever reason. So I think it's just a matter of us taking that big step forward and having some real decisive policy to figure out what's going on there. And I'm not opposed to what Commissioner Mariano's saying. It's probably more feasible. And if the sheriff likes it, it takes pressure off his organization of being distracted with dealing with situations like that and putting his officers in a dangerous spot. So, I just think this year, it's time for us to really narrow down on that subject of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and to understand, obviously, the legalities around it.
So maybe that's something that we will reserve for a workshop or deeper dive into
Yeah,
how
however
we're
it
dealing
needs to
with
be
that.
done.
Okay.
All right. There we go. All right, sorry for my technological issues, but I got us on to the third focus area. So the third and final focus area of our strategic plan is around driving economic growth and prosperity. So the addressable challenges here are meeting affordable and attainable housing needs, our stressed communities, and supporting our small business and entrepreneurship. And so when we do a dive into the pamphlet, you will see those three specific goals around these areas are increase the supply of affordable and attainable housing inventory, support the redevelopment of stressed communities, and increase the support of our small business and entrepreneurship. So same kind of question as before. Anything on here that's a little bit more pressing than the others that we should be kind of leaning in this upcoming budget cycle?
Does anyone want to discuss anything on this one?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So I know we got an agenda and we just passed about mobility fees. I think we need to really try to focus on helping these small businesses not have to pay large fees, try to help them, encourage them with our economic development, but I don't think it's directly with our budget itself, but I think that's a great direction for us to look at as we go.
So, I spoke to David Engel about this, we're all throwing ideas out on our HUD money, if it comes through. One of the ones I threw out there was, there were a lot of signs damaged in the hurricane, and of small businesses, and can we use some of that money to help them fix their non-conforming signs and whatever else may have been damaged on their building facades or whatever, and help them. Is my mic on? No. And help these small businesses, so that's something we'll check. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I actually had the Elks up in Hudson had their side damaged, and they want to try to do something for small to keep their revenues going in. So they asked about their some possible fencing as well. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I agree. I was surprised to learn how expensive it is to engineer and build a sign. I mean, you talk about a bone acre around small business's neck, that's one right there.
Yeah, and now we have money to help them.
So I think that might be a nice fit. And I think that needs to be for whether their sign was damaged or non-conforming, something. Figure out a way.
Whatever we can do.
It needs to be universal, I think.
So I'm gonna float another idea.
Yeah.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So stressed communities, I think everybody on the coast that get hit by these storms is stressed right now.
Yeah.
Right? We're just getting them to go through the permitting process. They're getting turned over with David Allen's help, hopefully a bit quicker, and we'll get more success with that. But one of the things about becoming resilient with housing is I want you guys to think about this a little bit. Senate Manor's a really nice community, right? Well-maintained, mobile homes, et cetera. The ones in the back of the community that were sitting a little bit lower, they got nailed. Let's say just if you get 2 feet, you're nailed, a lot of rehab, and a lot of them are getting rehabbed right now. If they sat just like 2 feet higher, 3 feet higher, they'd have probably been dry like the front of the park. Sundance Lake would probably be another one. I know places.
Is that
over in
west of, I don't know where that is. Is that west of 19?
Yeah. Everything I'm talking about is west of 19.
So you want to keep mobile homes west of 19?
Well, here's the thing. If people have their home, it's the only thing they've got. And let's say, I mean, you got families, generational, like 3 generations live in Senate Manor. They bring their friends down, they come. It's an inexpensive place to live.
So what about taking those lots and letting Habitat come in and build them a better house, more resilient on the coast?
When the time comes for the mobile to come down, maybe. But if they'll live in there and it's a viable structure, and look, through the storm, very little damage in there. It's just the flooding. So if they were just up higher, just think about all the time and money Tidal Basin FEMA spent going through there. If those things are up like 3 feet higher, and I'll tell you what, I got people in Signal Cove, that area, it's a community. These people have lived there for years
I
and years.
just don't think mobile homes should be in a flood, an AE zone, a B
So
zone.
let me keep going, because there's more to what I'm going to get to. So for those that want to stay there, it's their home, it's still America, they want to stay there, why am I going to take them out? Because I got FEMA rules of 25%. If they want to stay there, and I can save FEMA and the families just by raising them up 3 feet, and a lot of those homes would have had no water in them, we'd have had nothing to deal with.
But what about giving them a house that, helping them get a more stable house?
I'm going to get to that next. But so the other thing to think about is you get some of these homes that, let's say they're concrete block, et cetera. If you raise them up to the BFE and just above, it's like 200 grand plus, right? You get an older house, you got it sitting up there, not as much value, but it's safer, right? If it was up 5 feet, maybe it's less money, I don't know. You've also got the opportunity, as we look at it, to make it more resilient. Now let's say that I got someone who's going to weigh, if I put a bigger incentive out to go take, okay, if you tear your old house down or your old trailer down, you raise something up, we put more money into it. What that does, and long-term, if they can afford to do it, some can, some can't, it would help make that decision made to go, and I got a couple of people doing it, they're tearing down their house, they had to make sure they got to the 49%, tearing their house and putting a brand-new one up, fully modernized. Now, I think if we could look at putting a huge chunk of money for the housing part we got coming up for these stressed communities, you would improve your tax base tremendously. You'd give them a better place to live. And if you look at Gulf Harbors on the far side, like after the storm, I think I saw 1 or 2 houses with stuff in it that were probably bottom floor. Nothing else in there.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing, if you raise everybody up and give them the opportunities. So I think it's a long discussion, but for the housing part of that CDBG, I think we should look at all those 3 options.
So I am sure that after we have our Friday meeting, that we will have more discussion on this, and I'll save it for, let's save these deep discussions on that when we have more information on how we can spend that money.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
I want to take advantage of the budget because it's a lot of budget
But you know, the
stuff.
president put a hold on all grants yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. I
Would
think it
that have-
happened last night.
Yeah, we're working with Congressman Bilirakis' office to understand what that means. There's still a lot of,
Yeah.
all is all, but whether all will remain all remains to be seen.
So it's on the CDBG
Disaster
money we're talking
recovery,
about? All right, so I think it's a great time for discussion, because I tell you, I think he would look at this to say, okay, let's get smart with this money. So I think I'm okay with that to make sure we get it right.
Yeah.
Good.
Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you, Chair. With that, and to Commissioner Mariano, what he's talking about, I'd like to know whether or not, if we have to be in the National Flood Insurance Program for a house, for a homeowner to qualify for that type of help or not. I still, when we brought it up during our legislative workshop, I still would really like to understand more about the National Flood Insurance Program. While I'm seeing it benefits the county, I am not convinced that being a part of that program is the best thing for our property owners and our home and business owners in our county, based on the percentage rules of what's home or building is totaled or not versus what they're going to get on their insurance when they make a claim, cost, et cetera. I think it really handcuffs them. So I really, if we have a further discussion, and really I'd like to understand this before this hurricane season, if being a part of that program is worth it or not for our citizens in the long run, so.
Well, we'll get into that one too, and yes.
Yeah, actually, that'll be part and parcel for the February workshop of some
Yeah.
of the things we need to talk about it. I think it is worthwhile, and we'll get into the reasons for that, but we'll have that conversation so the board can understand that better.
Okay, so we're going to keep on with the budget, but this is bubbling up some things for deeper discussion.
Yes, thank you for your very rigorous dialogue and conversation around our strategic priorities. I think you gave us a lot to chew on and nugget through as we go through the budget process, so thank you. All right, so now before we get into the next bit of discussion, which is around taxation, we wanted to highlight some of the work that's been accomplished to date and what the expectation on work accomplishment throughout this fiscal year will look like for the new Roads Rehabilitation Services, MSTU, that the board adopted for fiscal year '25. All right, so to date, we're hovering around 30% execution, but I hear that we're looking to fully execute the money allocated for this program for this year by Q3, which is kind of a big deal, right? That's pretty awesome. So we were talking a little bit earlier in this board meeting about how this county does a good job of putting the money to work. I think this is a great example of how we've been putting the money to work. And so the next two slides are going to compare what were we able to accomplish with the MSTU versus the old PVAS program that this MSTU was replacing.
Fireworks should go off when you show this slide. Should have, yes.
That was it. I did it. You're welcome. All right, so.
With that, Joel's leaving.
He said I'm out. All right, so, and Jason, feel free to save me at any point. I'm here for it. But yes, you want to come do these slides? He's like, Amy, I'm going to save you already. You did fireworks and we're done?
Oh, what's this?
That's your clicker.
Oh, cool.
I don't know when you want to move.
Good morning, members of the board. Chairman Starkey, thank you again for making this program happen. Your leadership is really showing up out in the community. We have already executed on 30% of the available funds. We're hitting all the districts. We're doing all our different strategies. We're working really hard out there to get the roads rehabilitated. From reconditioning, microsurfacing, rejuvenation, mill and repaving. I did just want to say we are ahead of schedule and on target.
Oh.
I'm not committing to the
roads.
by Q3.
But we are.
That's a little ambitious. I just want to say we're very much on target. We're really making a lot of progress. We will execute fully this year. And I just wanted to come up to thank you again for getting this program across the finish line for us.
So I had asked in my meeting yesterday if the hurricanes held you up, and because I know we had issues on the east side and west side. I said, well, then they could have been working on the middle. But I also know you had to fix some roads, Bay Head and a few others. So the hurricanes did not slow you down starting October 1st?
No, you are correct. We have 6 roads mainly on the east side that we are working to fix. Separate issue.
Okay.
We're working on those, but does not stop us at all moving full steam ahead on the road rehabilitation program.
So awesome, right? All right, thank you. Such a big savings.
Just to say one thing, it's created people with dirt roads and roads that are not up to par, even being paved, wondering when, because everybody's paying, they're asking the question, when's my road gonna be paved? When's my road? And I'm getting that a lot, only to reach out to Road and Bridge and they give me the right answers. Some of those homes in those areas, they're reaching out for their home or roads to be paved. They're not even in the 3-year plan.
Well, we have that in Odessa too, so that's
Well,
everywhere.
And then I guess I
Well, I know
would say
that.
that is, you know,
Boone Lake.
I'll back it up. Remember when we first talked about the road MSTU, this is, I don't know, it's north of $1 billion, south of a $2 billion, $3 billion problem. And so depending, you know, right now, we've authorized funding at about 15 million. So again, divide 15 into 3 billion, and that's how many years it'll take. But that's okay. You know, right now, Public Works has got their feet on the ground. Again, I've challenged them Q3 because I want to see those execution rates be solid. So that way, if citizens do want more and they want to increase priorities, there's ways we can do that.
Yeah,
Obviously,
because
but
remember,
also,
we picked a lesser number for them.
yes, we picked
did
the
that to
entry level,
ourselves.
which is perfectly
Yeah.
fine for a new program. I think that's
Part of
wise.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Well, right, but I mean, still, that's a
Has to
wise way
go
to
somewhere.
wade in, and so we can continue to wade further if this board or a future board wants to do that. But kudos to Public Works for
Yeah.
doing it. And really, the 2 slides, 37 roads at 78,000 per lane mile,
And go back to the one before.
and I'll use.
6 roads,
Amy's-
521,000 per mile.
That's what we were doing with PVAS, because we were rebuilding roads, essentially.
bad.
So we're getting ahead of the game, so
I
fantastic
wish we'd
work.
done this
So
sooner.
didn't build roads because a lot of those would not pass. Nobody wanted to pay
Right, we go through all that expense.
all that back, yeah.
Yeah.
And remember too, on the investment on the next slide, as we showed you when we were going through the MSTU presentations, every dollar that you're investing now is extending the life of these roads.
Yeah.
So you're making an investment in the whole road network.
So I think
the fact
everyone
that
now
we-
has hope, right?
Road and Bridge is doing a great job
Yeah.
with this program, and they've been moving. I know in my district, we got a FDOT road, which is County Road 52 that FDOT promised to pave. They're in that process right now. I think they're near the school, coming back toward Dade City and all the way to the bypass section. So
Nice.
that's gonna all get paved, but that's out of this program. That's the FDOT saying they were doing that road. So.
All right, thank you. All
Madam
right, we'll
Chair?
keep moving.
Jason?
We've got three
Jason?
guests here that want to say something, I think, too, so.
I just want to say, Mike Branford, bringing Jason on was, what a great move. You know, having him get all the things he gets done is amazing. Stormwater projects, paving projects, so thank you for the great work you're doing.
Thanks, sir.
I'd like to say one other thing we have is, I got a message and Postmaster stepped in on my phone that I had somebody in the county basically with a threat to not see any more raises in taxes and all. In 8 years I've been on the board, taxes have raised every year, not because of us.
Just
but
a one-time for the sheriff's
because
pay.
it's all value of homes. For that 8 years, everybody's home value increased, which in turn, they ought to save our homes. They only pay 3% a year on that, but the fact of it is, the postmaster actually cut that conversation
Wow.
off and said, we're not accept that. But that was a threat.
Not good. Okay,
All right, so our next slide is for board discussion around our millage rates. So looking at, we just talked about the roads MSTU and what that was able to accomplish with the level of funding that the board adopted. But we do have other types of taxes out there. Is there any other type of tax we should be, from the administrative perspective, doing a deeper dive, doing some research? Any direction or discussion around the parks capital maintenance, where we adopted an ordinance, but we adopted 0 mills, fire MSTU general fund. So this is just open for any kind of discussion the board wants to have on these topics.
County Administrator, were you about to say something?
No, I was going to just echo Amy's sentiments. This is
Yeah.
just an open-ended conversation, you know, right now as it stands, as we plan the budget. The numbers that you see up there are where we're going to go, and we're going to continue to do business as usual unless there are other things that the board is interested in. And to Amy's point, this is not necessarily saying go do this, but if you want us to explore something and bring some things back so the board can consider other means or methods of
Okay,
funding
well-
certain operations,
well, I'll
we
jump in.
certainly can handle that.
And Commissioner Mariano, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. I was going to say, you know, as we look at the budget coming up, I know there's a push keeping millage low, which is good, even cutting millage, sometimes a struggle. What I don't want to see us do is go down these MSTUs, cutting our millage back, but bringing an MSTU on. Now, what we just saw with the paving, it worked great, get rid of paving assessment programs that we have that we're not getting done, not getting approved. We're now doing something positive to make some action happen. But what I don't want to see us do is to take our county population at 91%, funding all, let's say, your parks coming up, when you're letting now the 9% of the cities not pay into that MSTU, because they're not going to pay into it, but still use the parks. So I want you to be very cautious when you push an MSTU. Remember, you're putting the burden on your county people at 91% and letting the cities slide away. If you want to line the cities up to go contribute to, I'm all for looking at that. But I don't want to isolate the county people to pick up the burden.
Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. Yeah, so Commissioner Mariano's point, I'm all for an all-encompassing parks MSTU and exploring that. But with MSTUs, I think generally, it'd be good to know how much money from the cities actually move the needle or it doesn't, right? So if we do an MSTU, whether it's for whatever line of business, how much of this, what's the city's, what are we actually losing out on? Is it a de minimis amount overall, or is it truly something significant? I think that'd be good to know. If we have an MSTU, my expectation is if the cities want to have a piece of whatever we're working on, then we need to come up with some level of interlocal agreement if this board does choose to go towards a path down an MSTU, depending on what that subject is. But I am interested to pick up on last year. I didn't like the structure of the parks maintenance MSTU. I didn't like the structure at all. I still think to preserve the generational fixes and growth that we need to have in our park system, I still think we need to look at an all-encompassing MSTU for multiple reasons. One, I think it protects the parks funding when times get bad, because you have to take multiple public comments and hearings so folks can actually have time, and it's not just a swift hand to the board to just axe the parks budget, right? And that's what we've seen historically, which I view an MSTU as almost a level of safety barrier and deliberate thinking of how we're going to handle our parks. And we know Pasco's growing younger, so the demand for parks is a lot different than it was when Pasco had an older population. So I'd be interested if we could explore an all-encompassing MSTU, what it would mean based on what I discussed last year, but then also understand what that delta would be that we would lose from the cities. And if, the cities want to participate in it, how we could get them to participate in it, right? I don't know if that'd be a mandatory thing, but I'm sensitive to Commissioner Mariano's point. He has a good point. I'd just like to see what roughly that number could potentially be. Thank you.
Maybe we ought to put a toll at all the roads coming into Pasco where we get paid for, because there's a lot of people, not just our cities, but there is a lot of people from outside our county coming into our parks. 'Cause
Yes.
our parks are very nice, and they're getting nicer. I mean, the super park's gonna be huge.
So I do have a concern that we did zero on the parks maintenance fund last year. Keith, for the parks that we have now, I think Keith needs $7 to $8 million a year, and he's getting $1 million. So we are going to slide backwards, like we did when those parents came from East Pasco in their Little League field, and they said they were turning the power on and off with an 8-foot board, 2x4, because they were getting electrocuted when they flipped the switch. So I don't want to go back to that, and we're adding more parks. So we are going to have to come up with money for his maintenance fund. We have to. It's a life safety thing. So I'm willing to look at your suggestion. I have no idea the pros and cons, but I'm willing to look at it in order to arrive at some kind of solution where we get him another $6 to $7 million a year. And I want to be conscious. I have Judge Crane and the public defender, and I think Sarah's here, and the public, what's the other one? State attorney, and Bruce, and I want to make sure they have come here and they have an opportunity to speak. So we're going to move kind of quickly, but go ahead, Commissioner Mariano.
Make one last comment.
Okay.
Us five vote on the budget. If we set up parks to have more money, we control that, we control it. We have full control. So we don't need an MSTU that keeps the cities out of paying into the parks. We can control it in the budget. We tell the administrator, here's where it's going to go. It goes. You don't need to create another tax. You just got to make sure you keep the millage where you need it to be to fund it.
If it takes a certain amount of votes to get somewhere, I'm willing to look at whatever it takes to get there. So, and maybe your argument's going to win, but, this is America, and we'll have that debate, and hopefully we'll move forward.
So I'll bring a regular item back to discuss pros and cons of how we're doing things to MSTUs.
But you certainly we don't want to open up that super park and then have to close it because it's dangerous.
Yeah, right. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But the fact of it is, a few years back, we all approved bond issues, and we put it on the ballot, and the citizens actually approved what we would have approved ourselves. But the citizens voted those
Yeah,
in.
at a very high number. I mean,
All
percentage.
got approved except
The most
for
popular.
one, which was another discount on housing, homestead. It did not pass in the county, which means, I can tell you this, we got the best citizens
Yeah.
in the world, and they understand what it takes to get things done.
So, Keith, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything, because I'm going to bring up another MSTU that or impact fee that I think we need to talk about, and that's public safety, but go ahead, sir.
To Commissioner Oakley's point, if that's the case, look at the options to put it up to the voters. Let the voters decide.
And there's that possibility too, and we'll bring all those ideas back.
But if we're going to increase the MSTU, I'd please ask you to have better security at our meetings. I've already been warned.
On the next page is the criminal courthouse and all these capital expenses that are needed. I personally think it's a shame we didn't have a public safety impact fee going with all these new houses here, which put strain on all these issues here, and we could have been collecting money towards that, and I think that's something that we need to look at. I've also talked to the sheriff, about a public safety MSTU, and I think one day we're going to need to get there, but certainly I think the starting point for me is some type of public safety or first responder, whatever you want to call it, impact fee. We got to start collecting money for that courthouse. That's been a need for a long time.
Yep.
So if you guys want to come up now and speak, are you guys okay with them coming up? I think they came here to.
Well, I've never been accused of being shy, so I guess I'll step right up. I'm Sean Crane. I am the Chief Judge of Pinellas and Pasco County 6th Judicial Circuit and proud graduate of Gulf High School. I stand before you today, once again, as you know, talking about, as Madam Chairman has just indicated, the need for a criminal courthouse in the center part of our county. You all know, you've heard me before, we were at the workshop before, and I think as Madam Chairman has just pointed out, as Commissioner Oakley has pointed out, we've kicked this can down the road long enough. It is a need in our county. I will tell you that we have the worst ratio of courtrooms to judges in the state of Florida. I will tell you that we are, and depending upon who you talk to, the third fastest or fourth fastest growing county, which I don't need to explain to you all, in the country. With these people, when for instance, when the sheriff comes before you and indicates all the pressures on them because of the increased growth, I can tell you, those people, where do they go? They come to the courthouse. When all the other constitutionals come before you and ask for and talk about the stressors placed upon them based upon the increase in our community population, where do those people eventually wind up if you pass away and you have a will that needs to be probated, or you're having a dissolution of marriage, or there's issues with children? I can go on and on, civil disputes, contract disputes, all of those people wind up in the courthouse. And when that property was purchased, and once again, Madam Chairperson, you've nailed it when you said this has been going on a long time. About 23 years I've read through notes where it was agreed that this was needed. This county and prior county commissioners, county commissions have gone forth and paid for studies to say, what does the county need as we come forward in the future? And every one of those studies has indicated a central courthouse is a priority. Now, when they used to rank them, they would say that it's 1A, 1B with the jail, or it's the #1 priority. Then at the last go-round, they didn't rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they did indicate that the central courthouse was a high priority. And these are surveys that you all paid for. And this is the information that consultants that you hired are telling you. These same consultants are telling you things like the courthouse in the east side of the county will not satisfy the requirements for a criminal courthouse. And I can tell you that at some point in time, as good a job as the sheriff does and the court security does over there, there is going to be an issue, and that issue is not going to be pretty, because the way the public, the jurors, and everybody interact with inmates and people, family members and stuff, and just the design of the courthouse will not, as I said, will not satisfy the requirements for a criminal courthouse, and that's by the county's own study has found that to be true. I think that there's, the words that we heard used early on by Amy were booming. Well, we are booming, and with that boom comes people. With people come problems. And we're talking about community safety. We're talking about a courthouse that would be dedicated for criminal needs, for the criminal courthouse. And what that does is that extends the life of the courthouse on East Side and West Side. And that extends that life of those two courthouses exponentially. And so not only it's fiscally responsible because it extends the life of those, it also is a need in the center part of the county. As I said, I started reading notes from John Gallagher, way back when he said, we purchased that land specifically for a jail and a courthouse. That's why that land was purchased. Very important, just to put it in perspective a little bit, west side of the county, we have 13 judges, 9 courtrooms. In the east side of the county, we have 9 judges with 4.5 courtrooms. People have the right to go in and have their matters heard and have the right to appear before a judge in a courtroom, and unfortunately, we cannot accommodate that. These are life safety issues. These are safety issues for the members of our community. You've all heard me talk about the importance of this courthouse before, so I'm gonna if I can just defer for a little bit my time to both Bruce Bartlett, our state attorney, and Sarah Malo, our public defender, and then I may come back for some brief words after them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Bartlett.
Good morning.
So, speaking of the other courthouse, and it's kind of ironic that this comes up this way this time, but I was with Bernie and we were involved in discussions, and actually plans were kind of formulated for what the courthouse might look like, because of the importance to tie the courthouse by a tunnel or a projected pathway that would be closed in, that they could take people in and out of jail, which would save all this transportation money. Evidence, stock, locker, and everything else is there in that same compound. And but ironically, it abruptly stopped, even when funding was discussed right down to the amounts of money they were going to use. But it was stopped because of jail expansion was necessary, and it put brakes to it. That was it. The courthouse done, and they went ahead and did the jail expansion. The jail expansion happened because much like what's happening now is crime is booming. You look at the calls for public safety up 117%. Okay, what that means is sheriff's working harder. He's got to cover all that. That means that he's going to make arrests, that they're going to need a courthouse to put those people in, and they're going to need more prosecutors to handle putting them in there. Without the prosecutor part of this equation, it doesn't work. So it's just all part of it's all one big thing. One triggers the other, it triggers and triggers and triggers, and we all do. And Pasco is growing like crazy. I've watched the crime rates come up here now.
No, ours went down.
Yeah, right. Well,
that's what I've been told.
All I've been doing is indicting people for killing
That's
people
Pinellas.
with fentanyl. Okay?
That's Pinellas.
And very rarely. Had one this weekend. Just had one stabbing last night. Here it was. I got called
I
on.
just want to make comment. I'm sure that your caseloads for your prosecutors, they're very stressed, and
They
with
are.
our population growing as
They
well.
are. And you all have been very kind to help us with the space issue with the Liberty Building, which now we've occupied because we have not only the criminal aspects of things, but we have child welfare and legal services. But with the new expansion with the Liberty Building, we're down to 2 offices, 0 places to put a clerk anywhere in the office, like a secretary or that. And then the same thing in the Dade City side. And it's that over there is going berserk with the building and the homes and stuff, and it's going to bring all this in. So all I'm saying, and I don't want to, kind of repeat everybody's thing.
We know. We just have to figure out where we get $200 million.
Take care of this, though, in, a 3 or 4 year time period. It's going to take a lot of getting ready and everything else. But it does affect the public safety, so.
We actually need
Public
$350
defender
million
and
right away.
State is a, important component, so whatever affects the cops affects me, which affects her.
Yeah.
And so.
And I don't like the idea of the judges and the jurors mixing with the criminals at the East County Courthouse. That's dangerous.
So good morning. I'm Sarah Molo, your public defender. Thank you for your time and opportunity to support the judge and his mission to get us a central courthouse. Every mission needs a champion, and he certainly is our champion on this. But logistically thinking about things, I think you bring a good point as far as staffing issues. And so if you're just running office, you think about having a Dade City office and a Newport Richey office. So you have to have supervisor levels on both of those offices. If you combine that, you can, and Bruce and I are in a similar position. The county has grown, I think, 30 whatever percent. Everybody knows that, right? Our FTEs, or full-time employee positions, have not grown. So we are trying to manage that population growth with the same amount of people that we've had before the population grows. So one of the ways you can do things more efficiently is to consolidate that, and then you can reduce some of those levels of management and direction. Even though you would have a larger group underneath it, you could consolidate that supervisor level. So that's just one of the economic benefits of consolidating.
So what would we do with the courthouse on the east side then? Are you saying?
Civil.
Just, okay, civil, so we'd still use it? Okay.
Right, not my problem. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Okay.
I do think I think the point of using those buildings then and reducing the criminal workload there is that then they are more sustainable because the civil is growing as well. So where are you going to put the civil? So you need that space as well.
And this 202 million number, where's that coming from? Who came up with that number? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the estimate that our facilities management department has put on, using just some, what I will call rough order of magnitude estimates based on square footage.
Right, and if you think of the current situation, you have inmates, and so I have young attorneys that are in a courtroom, and I think the judge is accurate, and this is a disaster waiting to happen. The security and the sheriff's office does a wonderful job of ensuring that, but it really is a poor situation, and it's complicated then to convey offers and to have conversations with your client when you have 12 people in a courtroom full of people and a judge all in that same space.
Yeah.
It just really isn't efficient and doesn't work very well.
So, board members, when you look down here at the funding mechanisms, we're going to have Mike, we're going to have a deeper dive into this long-term capital discussion, and we need to discuss this. And have we seen where in the state appropriations have helped build a courthouse?
I'm kind of yes and no. What I would say to that is they have helped to some extent, but certainly not to any great extent, with the exception of some of the district courts of appeal. For instance, in St. Pete now, they're building the second district court of appeal, the Bernie McCabe District Courthouse, based upon the hard work of the legislature and Speaker Sprowls, who.
But didn't that money get vetoed? Was he able to put it back in? I think that money got vetoed. Yeah. Oh, but got back in? Okay.
Yeah, and they're building it right now. What's interesting is there's a similar project kind of going on in Pinellas to build a civil courthouse down there right off Ulmerton Road, because there's a need for it down there because they're going to move their civil courthouse. So they're kind of parallel things going on. I will say that once again, it's important economically to show that the two sides, the two on each side of the county will be for civil. They will accommodate for the foreseeable future any of the growth in civil court. It will accommodate any growth there as well. And once we have that central Pasco courthouse built, and the transportation issues will be kind of solved because it's literally from the front of the property to the back of the property. But Bruce Bartlett's correct when he says because of the jail expansion and because of the layout of the campus, that's when the courthouse got removed from being attached to the jail. And up to that point in time, before it was seen that the growth was such that there was going to need to be such a jail expansion, we had the Board of County Commissioners that had given us the green light to go ahead with design and kind of build plans. And as you all are aware, we spent quite a bit of money on that. And I appreciate the county commissioner's thought after that, because the last email sent to our former chief judge, Judge McGrady, from a reporter was they just left one of your workshops, and the county commissioner was trying to determine how to satisfy their promise their promise of a new courthouse because of this to the people of Pasco County because of the necessity of that courthouse. But once we got removed, how that was going to happen, and unfortunately, after that, it just kind of died on the vine. But it is a public safety issue. I appreciate all the thought process and all of the time and effort you've all expended to that. I will, and I've already indicated to Commissioner Oakley, I've cited his comment many times when he said at our last budget workshop, we kicked this can down the road too long. We need to get something done. So I'm looking for Board of County Commissioners, hopefully, who have the foresight and the courage to put their names on the side of a building that'll serve this community for decades to come, so.
Quick question on the bonds. If we were to go to a bond, what's our deadline to advertise? Just wondering if we have to have a discussion quicker than,
Are you referring to a general obligation
Yes.
bond that you put to the voters?
Yes.
I don't know offhand, Jeff, if you know, or
Jeff, do you know the answer to that?
we could get back to the board on that. I would imagine the next
I'm not sure
general.
that you can put it on the munis, so.
Right.
You're probably a year out from,
Mhm.
yeah, you're probably.
our challenge with appropriations is, I think, the rule is now you have to have 50% for an appropriation. So we're going to, okay, well, this is a discussion for us
No,
to
and
have.
I'm available for any time, if there's a workshop, if there's a special session called or whatever, of you all, I'm available. I'm available personally to meet with anybody who has any questions. I think it shows the importance of this, the fact that you all were gracious enough to invite me here today, to be able to talk to you all, and I'm incredibly grateful for that opportunity. I'm incredibly grateful for the two people standing behind me, if they're still there, standing behind me, who took time out of their day to be here, and really stress the importance of this for the people of our community. I am a member of the Pasco County community, so this is obviously, and as you all know, grew up here, so this is near and dear to my heart as just a citizen of Pasco County. This is certainly something we need. And so, I'm at your disposal. Literally anything you need that I can help with, that I can supply, I am available. We've already been meeting with Mike, Eric, and Andrew about this, and trying to make sure we can put together the best package to present to you all that we could. And I'm certainly willing to continue to do that. And like I said, I'm available, whatever you all need.
Well, thank you very much,
Madam Chair?
all of you, for
For your
coming.
time.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
could?
Certainly appreciate it.
Commissioner Mariano?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Judge, hang on for a second.
Sure.
So, going way back when they shut down the local jail right here, I thought it was a very bad move to have to transport prisoners back and forth. Seeing it work in the courthouse, I agree. It's not the right way to do it. It takes so much manpower, safety, et cetera. I'd like to see you work with our staff to get this number down, though. We definitely got to get that number down. So look to keep it as simple as you can.
Well,
but
and
I
that's our
think
plan. I think you're absolutely right. We want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. This is in no way, shape, or form a Taj Mahal situation. Let's make sure we're very clear on that. The only thing I stressed and I recommended was that we build a shell out for 12 courtrooms. If we're going to use 8 for future development, we just have that shell and we can then grow without, and it's much more cost effective to just build those shells out, which is kind of what they did at the criminal justice complex down in Pinellas. They just built out those shells until they were full, and then eventually they had to actually build a separate annex because they were too full. But that would be, my suggestion would be, we stood at Starkey Elementary, and Starkey Elementary, when we were standing there, was already too small. Remember, you guys there had to be an extra $10 million to build onto that. By the time, the plans had started, they put a shovel in the ground till it opened. They had to build, my understanding was a $10 million.
You talk about
addition
Starkey
to that.
K-8?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
so.
That's where we were, right? Is that where we had our last workshop meeting?
Yeah, at the cultural
The theater
center.
there, at the
Yeah,
theater
the cultural
there.
center, yeah.
Yeah, that's what, I may have misspoke about the
No, that's
name of it,
okay. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it was already too small, so we need to kind of, I think show good value, and if nothing else, just maybe build it out a little bit bigger, but just a shell, and no, there's gonna be nothing fancy, we're not looking for anything fancy, just good, common sense,
Well,
use of that money.
Yeah, we'll get to work on
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yeah.
could do a little further.
12 o'clock.
I know, he keeps taking the mic, what am I gonna do? I'm just kidding. So I think that's a great approach. We've got a great opportunity. You
And I have a
got Senator Ed Hooper, Appropriations Chair. We've hired not only, I think, a great set of lobbyists for the state on all 3 levels. We've also got a federal lobbyist now I think is powerful. I think now's the time to put a good plan in place, make it fiscally as tight as you can, but efficient and available for growth. And let's go try to work on it to get some funding, because there's no way we can take that number down. But if we bring that number down and work together on it, we can work on funding and put a plan together.
I think, and I appreciate that, I'm sorry for interrupting before, maybe it's forced to have it from my old job, where I want to clarify something. So I apologize for that. Commissioner, and you and I have talked about this, and it may come of no surprise to anyone here that last time I walked up on Senator Hooper, he looked at me and he said, "You're going to ask me for money, aren't you?" And I said, "You bet I am." So I'm leaving no stone unturned. Like I said before, I'm like a bad penny. You all aren't going to get rid of me anytime soon.
Well,
So-
this board and the one just previously before this one, we have stopped kicking that can. And we've taken some hard votes here. PVAS is one of them, and there's going to be good results from that. And so I feel confident that we will find a solution. And,
Thank you so much.
and
for
we'll
that,
work
everybody.
on that. That's my pledge.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for that. And like I said, I'm available for whatever you need.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you
Everybody
for
take
all
care.
you
God
do.
bless.
Yes, sir.
So, did you have anything else? I kind of,
that's
not
all
you,
I'm doing.
her.
No, ma'am, it's just our conclusion and wrap up.
Yeah.
So it'd
Okay.
just be a conclusion and wrap up slide, so I mean, pretty much.
I kind of jumped ahead to your next page, so.
That's okay, and we'll be back. There was a couple regular items that percolated up as part of this
Yes.
discussion, so we'll be back, and we'll definitely be back in February. So without further ado, thank you all so much for your time, for your thoughtful discussion and your input going into our 26 budget, and we'll see you guys soon.
Madam Chair?
Great,
Just-
yeah.
Just one quick thing. One of the things we talked about yesterday was the amount of people that are looking for tax abatements. I think we need to get some numbers together the next time we meet, that we'll have those together to kind of look at, because
Yeah.
a lot of people are filing to get a break.
Yeah, as Amy said, that period ends in 1 March, but we will be talking to the property appraiser to see what that impact is and whether it's material or not, but it's a concern.
All right, so we'll take a break for 5 minutes while they load the cameras in here for photos. And I think Joanna's gone to get them to get set up. And so come back in just a few minutes and we'll take our group photo.
Are you recessing though?
Yeah, we're recessed. Thank you. Am I?
And wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater.